Hello students, so please sit down. Today we're going to dive into the topic of converting calories to kilojoules and explore the significance in how that contributes to maintaining a balanced diet. So let's get started. We're going to be converting calories. So we're basically just going to understand the concept of calories and kilojoules and learn to convert between them, and then explore practical applications for how to maintain a balanced diet. So we'll also learn to convert calories to kilojoules, vice versa. But before we begin, I just want to make sure that everyone understands all the details. So we're just going to disseminate a worksheet or an information sheet titled How to Tell the Difference Between Calories and Kilojoules. So I'll just hand that out now, and you just all have a moment to read that and ask any questions if you have any, and then once we've done that, we'll move on to the next activity. Great, so now let's discuss that. How do we measure kilojoules? Can anyone tell me that? David, yes, that's right. So kilojoules measure our energy intake. They're a way to, like you said, measure what we eat and drink in Australia. So another way of saying that is kilojoules are a unit of measurement used to sort of quantify our energy intake. And they represent the energy derived from everything we consume. So who can tell me now, based on what you've just read, what the average or the recommended intake is in Australia for kilojoules? Melanie? Yes, that's correct. Thank you. I think we all would have covered that in the article. It's 8,700 kilojoules. So that's the recommended amount. Obviously, people can fluctuate either way based on your activity levels, age, gender, race, etc. But that is the average daily energy need in Australia. So now we're going to move on to the conversion process. So the conversion process for kilojoules to calories is, I'll just rub this out so I don't need that anymore, is 1 kilojoule equals 0.2 calories. And then to convert it the other way is 1 calorie equals 4.2 kilojoules. So what we're going to do is use these simple mathematical processes to demonstrate how we can convert between the two if you're reading a nutrition label or an article or something that has it in one and you want to get it to the other. So we're just going to practice that. And then once we do some of these conversions, or once you're familiar with that, then I'll disseminate another worksheet and we'll work on the conversion exercises. I'll be here to sort of go around the class and help each of you individually based on what you need. So let's get started on those. So you're all finished, so that's great. So as it says in the instructions at the top of the worksheet, convert the given values from calories to kilojoules, and then for some of them it's convert the values from kilojoules to calories using the equations we have here on the board. So we'll just quickly go through the answers. 120 calories equals how many kilojoules? Who got that one? Yes, it's 504 kilojoules. That's correct. So that's just an example of converting from calories to kilojoules, and we'll quickly do one now where we convert from kilojoules to calories. So question 6 was 800 kilojoules. How much is that in calories? 800 kilojoules equals, who got that one? Yes, 190 calories. Very good. So I think we've all got a handle on that. That's using some basic literacy to understand how that works. So we'll just quickly sum that up, but based on what you've learnt there, why is it important to know how much energy is in the food you consume? Yes, to maintain a healthy diet and to know based on how much energy you're using, how much you put in so that we can keep healthy and maintain a healthy weight. And there are many factors that influence this, so there's different backgrounds, things like activity level, athletes, who else? Age, yes, so the elderly, children consume more because they're more doing more activity. And then there's also things like Indigenous Australians need to watch what influences their diet because they're more susceptible to certain foods. And there's also cultural factors such as Ramadan, when the food is only consumed after sunset. So great, so excellent work everyone. I feel like we've learnt not only about converting calories to kilojoules and vice versa, but also how to incorporate that into having a healthy diet. So a quick homework activity would be to go and to tomorrow work out what you eat and how many kilojoules you've consumed, and we'll get back into that in the next lesson. Excellent, thank you. So this is video B, just explaining the strategies and resources I used and why I thought they were effective in the lesson. So I used the worksheet, how to tell the difference between calories and kilojoules, just an information sheet really, to make sure that students had a comprehensive understanding before building on that. And then I used open-ended questions to engage all the students in the classroom, different learners, and that fosters participation and understanding for everyone. And it's been proven that according to Torrance et al. 2013, open-ended questions not only engage diverse learners, but also promote critical thinking. So that was what the information sheet was for. It served as a real-world connection as well, making the topic more relatable to their own lives. And these methods are supported by recent studies emphasising the importance of inclusive teaching practices, integrating theoretical knowledge with practical applications enriches the classroom experience. That's according to Lester and Jaco 2019. So in the first video, in video A, I employed several communication strategies and resources to advance the students' learning in the topic of converting calories to kilojoules and vice versa. So I'll just quickly explain some of the strategies and resources I used and then analyse and justify why I integrated them into the video. So I did a clear explanation of the topic to begin with, outlining the importance and the relevance as well of converting calories to kilojoules and vice versa. And demonstrations were provided on the whiteboard. There were visual aids, practical examples of foods in the worksheet. So that all enhanced student understanding of different concepts. Then engagement and participation. So I encouraged student participation and engagement by posing questions, eliciting their responses, and acknowledging their contributions. So this helped in gauging different comprehension levels of students and allowing for clarification of any doubts or things they didn't understand. Then hands-on activity, but that was obviously the information sheet to begin with. They could read that, which helps with obviously literacy, but then the numeracy side as well with the worksheet, which was all conversion exercises based on the mathematical equations that I put on the board. So that allowed them to apply the conversion formulas independently after I demonstrated it. So it's kind of scaffolding the learning. And then, as I mentioned, it's relevant to their life because it's what the food is they're consuming is, and that was the homework activity. And then I also did cultural relevance and sensitivity. I mentioned the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander or the Indigenous Australians, how the diet can be different because of how they're susceptible for things like diabetes, for example. So I just mentioned that, and then there's athletes, the elderly, the different age groups, and then also mention Ramadan because it's possible that students will be from backgrounds like that and their energy intakes will fluctuate throughout the year. So to analyse and justify that, I did differentiated instruction. So those strategies are to cater to diverse learners. So I did clear instructions for auditory learners, visual aids, practical examples for like visual learners, and then hands-on activities for the kinesthetic learners, sort of to do the worksheets and things like that. So acknowledging the various learning styles, and so then my teaching methods were sort of inclusive and effective. I had active engagement, participation. I encouraged them to participate, answer questions. That promotes active learning, critical thinking skills, communication skills as well. asking questions, involving them in discussions, fostering a deeper understanding of the subject matter. And then the real life application that was the homework activity. As I mentioned, the cultural relevance and sensitivity with different backgrounds. And all of those things are supported by research. So Darlingham in 2017 and Tomlinson also in 2017 emphasised the importance of differentiated instruction, making real life connections, and then cultural responsiveness in enhancing the student learning outcomes. So to summarise all that, the communication strategies and resources used in video A were I made sure that they were integrated to engage the students, to cater to different learning styles, relate to the real world, and then demonstrate cultural sensitivity as well. So all of that supported by educational research. It fosters an inclusive environment. It's effective for learning. It's the best practices with contemporary pedagogy. So I made sure to do all that to cater for everyone and give the best lesson possible. So in this third video, I'm just going to reflect on the adjustments that I made for students from diverse backgrounds. There could be a diverse range of students in the classroom from different backgrounds with different needs. So you've got to ensure equitable access and participation for all students to improve their learning outcomes. So some of the examples that I had is if you identify students with disabilities, understand their challenges and strengths, and then I implemented universal design of learning principles. So there's different ways of engaging students and expressing things. So using the whiteboard's a good example, but then also going around the classroom when they worked on the worksheets, making sure that they actually had assistance if they needed it. And so just modifying even the assignment to, it was basic and it was simple to follow, but then you could even modify it to make it less questions, for example, for certain students, but making sure that it was easy to understand. And then for cultural and linguistic diversity, recognizing different backgrounds, that's why I mentioned things like different backgrounds and diets. Ramadan is a good example of that in my lesson. Because it's relevant to their lives and how they consume food and how it works, and then they can think about their energy intake. I also encourage students to work together on the worksheet, so they could help each other. So that's a good way of a student at a higher level helping one that's struggling a little bit more and not able to understand the content if I'm not able to deal with them at that specific time. And then socioeconomic backgrounds as well. So making it very easy. You just need a pen and you write it, so they don't need heaps of things to bring into the classroom, just in case there are economic reasons why they don't have technology, for example, laptops. You just need a pen and paper to do the worksheet. And then in terms of the literacy and numeracy requirements, the literacy was obviously reading the information sheet, helping them understand it by if I would go around the classroom and help them, but also it was very easy to follow. But then you could also provide audio versions of that text to support students with reading difficulties. And then I had structured discussions and oral communication about the concepts at the end to clarify what everyone took out of it. And then the numeracy was obviously the equations and then converting it. That was all on the worksheet. That was the calculating the calories and then converting them between kilojoules and vice versa. And then I gave step-by-step scaffolded learning, guidance on how to actually do those conversions. And then I realized the importance of, through it, catering to everyone, because it's difficult, because if they're from all sorts of different backgrounds, there might be students with disability, but then cultural backgrounds, you've got to sort of be aware of all that and make sure that you do different things to cater to each student. So I think I can improve that. Certainly inclusive teaching practices that I can understand, so things that I can learn more about, and especially learn more about people from different backgrounds. So in terms of my future teaching practice, I plan to do more collaborative activities that help students come together and understand their different backgrounds and their different needs, and then explore more technology, I think, for teaching methods to enhance the experience. And then obviously I think communication is probably the best one, just communicating with all students, knowing what they need, and then helping them, giving them what they need to be successful.